From the point of view of animals, we may assume the actions and the powers that drive them, of human beings, are some kind of occult powers about which the animals know nothing. These actions may seem miraculous, but they are in reality expressions of the evolution of the mental stage of the evolution of consciousness, and are quite natural powers expressed by mind. Thus, the powers of abstract thought, self-reflection, logical inference, as well as advanced powers of organization, classification, and deduction, and the uses to which these powers are put, are beyond the ken of the animal kingdom, as well as those human beings who have not yet manifested them in themselves. Many animals, however, show at least rudimentary capacities in some areas that go beyond what might be expected from the vital powers that are primary in the animal kingdom. And of course, most humans, at some point or another, manifest some element of the advanced mental powers, even if not overtly recognized. They may be seen as first manifestations of what is in process of emergence as the mental evolution develops. The evolution of consciousness, however, is not finished with the expression of the mental power. Thus, we may expect to see further powers begin to express themselves that go beyond those of the ordinary mental consciousness with which we are familiar. We would expect to see partial expressions, limited functionality, and even some failed applications as this next evolutionary phase begins to manifest. We observe various reports, many of them credible, of people using powers that most others do not use. Some of the reports are either deliberate falsifications or unintentional fabrications through self-deception by people who either have an agenda to gain wealth or fame from some kind of occult power they claim to possess. Putting these aside, however, we are left with a considerable body of evidence of the existence of a number of these powers. In fact, substantial scientific research has been undertaken in the last 75 years or so, and even deliberately secretive elite military units in Russia and the United States have been formed to research and develop some of these powers for their potential use as weapons in the evolving nature of warfare. Some of the powers are subtle. They involve, for instance, focus of the silent will to affect people or events. Some involve creation of palpable vibrations in an environment that influences how people and animals respond. For example, there are numerous observations of a powerful atmosphere of peace in the environs of certain rishis or yogic practitioners. There are also many instances of someone seemingly being able to read the mind of people who come into contact with him. Psychology researchers in the West have noted that certain individuals can enter a room, project a sexual vibration toward a particular other person in the room who takes notice and responds in kind, or, if it is unwelcome, feels assaulted by the force of the projection. Powers such as remote viewing, telekinesis, clairvoyance have all had research done which tends to validate the potentiality, even though there are, as noted above, those who try to fake these powers. On a wider level, we see over the last several decades an increase in revelations about actions that formerly were kept as strict secrets, and we can adduce therefrom that a new power of truth consciousness is beginning to work its way into the psyche of humanity. This may also explain the dramatic increase in notable falsehoods being aired across various social media and news media platforms, as those who have used secretive dealings to gain and maintain power work to try to undermine the revelations that have been coming forward by flooding the social consciousness with distortions and lies that make it hard to sift out the truth from the blizzard of falsehoods. Several interesting phenomena were reported by an individual. One was an attempt to create a force of truth in a court setting by invoking the divine Shakti to reveal truth. This was done by chanting of various mantras in the room prior to the start of the hearing. One of the witnesses, under intense questioning, actually broke down, admitted the truth, and was practically in tears as his revelations defeated the defense of the large corporation for which he was working. In another instance, the same individual was visiting someone in the hospital who had just given birth. The nurses were refusing to release the child and were preventing the mother from access to the child. This individual was sitting at the opposite end of the room and spoke in a quiet but firm voice that they needed to relent and follow the directions of the child's mother. The nurses were quite startled and said they did not like being attacked and would take steps to exclude the individual in the future if he did not relent his attacks. The force was unspoken, but it was clearly felt and experienced by the nurses in the room. Another experience was related by a person who happened to be visiting the Sri Aurobindo ashram in August 1973. He reported that due to reported health issues, according to the ashram authorities, the mother would not be giving her customary balcony darshan on August 15th. He slept the night of the 14th of August with this knowledge. He reported awakening suddenly in the early morning on the 15th of August with a jolt of electricity running through his body, and he felt uplifted and knew that the darshan would actually take place. He went to the ashram building later that morning, and a sign was placed indicating that indeed the darshan would occur. He had no explanation for what he experienced or how he knew about the darshan, other than saying Mother's force had jolted him awake and gave him that certainty. Sri Aurobindo observes, quote, "Occultism means rightly the use of the higher powers of our nature, soul, mind, life force, and the faculties of the subtle physical consciousness to bring about results on their own or on the material plane by some pressure of their secret law and its potentialities for manifestation and result in human or earthly mind and life and body, or in objects and events in the world of matter. A discovery or an extension of these little-known or yet undeveloped powers is now envisaged by some well-known thinkers as a next step to be taken by mankind in its immediate evolution." End quote. Reference, Sri Aurobindo and the Mother, Powers Within, Chapter 19, Occult Powers of the Subliminal, page 143.